Does Labour, the Labour Party, have a problem with anti-Semitism? Some MPs and activists within the party certainly think so, and are now campaigning to toughen the rules on it, as well as on Islamophobia and racism generally. Jeremy Newmark runs the Jewish Labour movement.
Everybody's talking about zero tolerance of anti-Semitism, but it's become apparent, because of a spate of incidents over the past couple of months, that the rules and processes of the party don't provide adequate provision to deal with it.
And those incidents include a councillor who was forced to apologise and resign this week after messages were sent from her social media account claiming Hitler was the greatest man in history and that Iran could wipe Israel off the map using nuclear weapons. Wes Streeting is one of the MPs involved in who thinks lifetime bans should be considered.
Where too many of our Jewish members and people out there in the country think that the Labour Party is apathetic to anti-Semitism, and it isn't a place for Jewish members. And I think we've got to make sure that this party, with its historic commitments tackling all forms of prejudice, including anti-Semitism, is still a place for Jewish people.
We've been told by Labour that they welcome the contributions of affiliates and members in this important debate. Rule changes can be submitted to Labour's annual conference where they are democratically agreed by delegates. Jonathan Sacerdoti is from the Campaign Against Antisemitism, and he joins me on the line now. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning.
Jonathan, does the Labour Party have a problem with anti-Semitism?
Plenty of people around Britain are asking exactly that, and the reason is that they've seen over recent weeks more and more stories in the press unfolding virtually every day or week of anti-Semitic voices within the party. That one you just mentioned, Isaac Al-Gurbaz, the Labour councillor in Luton, just being the latest. Before that, we've had Gerald Kaufman MP, who said that Jewish money is buying influence in the Conservative Party and the government. We've had others even going back further in time, like Lord Nazir Ahmed, who said, according to the Times, that his conviction for dangerous driving, which ended up killing somebody, was harsher because of his support for Palestinians in Gaza and Jews who owned newspapers. These sorts of slurs aren't really something that any political party should be willing to tolerate within its ranks. And yet, despite those condemnations that we do hear from the Labour leadership, we don't see much being done other than suspensions and then often readmission to the party, like in the case of Jerry Downing and Vicky Kirby, both of whom also expressed outrageous anti-Semitic racist slurs against Jewish people.
Well, Jonathan, you mentioned the leadership there. Is Jeremy Corbyn the problem?
Jeremy Corbyn has said many times that he is absolutely against anti-Semitism and all forms of racism, and that's why it's interesting to hear members of his own party, whether it's Wes Streeting, who you played a clip from there, or whether it's Lord Levy, who is a Labour peer, or MP Louise Ellman, or plenty of other voices who are all coming out and saying that they don't think enough is being done. Even former Archbishop of Canterbury, Lord George Carey, spoke out in a speech in New York just a couple of weeks ago, saying that he didn't think that the Labour Party was fit to govern unless they took a much tougher stance on this. So plenty of people are questioning whether or not Mr Corbyn's commitment to anti-racism, specifically in the case of Jew hatred, is quite firm enough. And this is his opportunity really to show that he means what he says and to take solid action. And not only, by the way, to condemn these people who are revealed to be saying these things, but to look deeper within his own party and root them out, because it seems that if one or two are coming out every few weeks, the party could be doing a much better job itself of finding them. With tweets like that existing for many years on this particular councillor's Twitter feed under her name, how is it the Labour Party didn't do its due diligence on her as a candidate? And how is it they're not looking for these things themselves in order to get rid of the racists from within their party?
And Jonathan, what would you say about the past remarks that Jeremy Corbyn has made on groups like Hamas?
Well, certainly plenty of Jewish people were deeply concerned in the election campaign that Jeremy Corbyn ran to become leader of the party. He called Hamas and Hezbollah friends, and he invited members or representatives from those terrorist groups into Parliament to speak. Now, we mustn't forget, listeners at home must remember, that these are groups dedicated to killing Jewish people. They have been on record and even have, in the case of the Hamas Charter, a stated aim of genocide of the Jewish people. So to hear a leader of a political party having stated in the past that they are friends, and to have read those stories in the run-up to his election as the leader of the Labour Party about him being at an event with a well-known Holocaust denier speaking, where he even admitted he may have given some money to the man, he wasn't sure, he couldn't remember. These things have also worried members of the Jewish community greatly, and that's another reason why, if he's serious about being anti-racist, anti-Semitism, he should come out boldly now in order to reassure people by making sure these expulsions can be permanent and swift, and by making sure that the Labour Party shows that it's not a mainstream opinion, or shouldn't be a mainstream opinion, for members of that party to be spreading Jew hatred.
And just finally, Jonathan, is this a problem that's just limited to the Labour Party, or is it a problem from other parties? And generally, is it a growing problem within society, anti-Semitism?
Anti-Semitism is called the oldest hatred, and that's because it's been around since Jews have, unfortunately. The Jewish people are well used to those who abuse and spread slanders and slurs about them. However, it does seem at the moment that we're witnessing a lot of reports about Labour Party anti-Semitism in the press. Of course, as a charity combating anti-Semitism, the Campaign Against Antisemitism calls out any form of Jew hatred wherever we see it, whether it's in the Labour Party or in any other party. But right now we're looking at these frequent reports of this mainstream opposition party, the opposition in the country, with these reports of people spreading these views and openly expressing them. And that's why at the moment we're calling on Mr Corbyn and the Labour Party in general to make sure they root out these racists from within their ranks.
Oh, Jonathan Sassidoti, I'm going to let you go there, but thanks very much for joining us this morning on BBC Radio Merseyside.
Thank you.
Now, on the various accusations which have been made in recent months, a Labour spokesperson said the Labour Party takes all allegations of anti-Semitism, racism, bullying, intimidation and candidate misconduct very seriously. Baroness Jan Royal is currently leading an investigation into the conduct of individual young Labour Party members, and Baroness Royal will consider all allegations and all relevant evidence. That was a statement from the Labour Party. And in a statement from Aysegul Gürbüz, she said, multiple people had access to my account and the tweets made do not reflect what I believe, but I take full responsibility for what was spoken in my name. I believe it is the right thing to acknowledge the pain I have caused and have resigned. The Labour Party has confirmed her suspension. A council spokesman said the matter will be referred as a matter of urgency to the council's Independent Standards Committee to allow a full investigation to take place. Just after 7:15, time for this.